I always thought 28 would feel like I had everything figured out, like by this age you would have a clear direction, a solid sense of who I am, and some kind of confidence in where your life is going, but honestly, it doesn't feel like that. It feels more like looking back at your 20s and realizing how much time you spent just existing, trying or quitting things, getting lost in cycles you didn't even realize you were stuck in. And I think that's where regrets start to form, not from one big mistake, but from small patterns you repeat for years. So these are all 5 things I would call regrets at 28, not because life is over, but because I can clearly see what they cost me. 1. Waiting too long to start things. This is probably the biggest one. I used to think I need to feel ready before I started anything important, ready to change my life or become consistent, but ready never really came. It was just a delay disguised as preparation. And when I look back, a lot of time wasn't lost because I failed. It was lost because I didn't start at all. I just stayed in planning mode, thinking about versions of life instead of actually living one. 2. Ignoring my social life while trying to fix everything else. There was a period where I thought I needed to focus on myself first, gym, work, goals, progress, and I told myself I would build relationships later. But later doesn't automatically come. People don't just appear in your life when everything else is perfect. And slowly I realized I had built a life that looked productive but felt disconnected. And fixing that later is much harder than maintaining it early. 3. Caring too much about what people think. At some point I started realizing something strange. Most of the things I was worried about, nobody else even remembered. The embarrassing moments or the awkward interactions I had, the things I replayed in my head for days. Other people had already moved on, but I hadn't. I was still carrying them. And that weight quietly shaped decisions I made for years, what I said or avoided or didn't try, and I didn't even realize I was doing it at the time. It was just something that kept happening. 4. Overthinking instead of experiencing. I used to think a lot about life, about decisions or possible outcomes, what things meant actually, but thinking can easily become a trap because you start living in simulations instead of reality. You imagine outcomes instead of testing them, or you rehearse conversations instead of having them, and you feel busy mentally while your actual life stays the same. 5. Underestimating how fast time actually moves. This one hits differently as you get older. When you're younger, you think time is wide open, like there's always more of it coming. But then you blink and suddenly years are behind you. And it's not even the big moments that surprise you as well, it's the ordinary ones. The days that felt like nothing, that quietly turned into years, and you realize time didn't feel like it passed until you look back. I don't think these are unique regrets. I think most people around this age would recognize them in some form. And I also don't think 28 is late for anything, but I do think it's an age where you start seeing your patterns clearly. And once you see them, you can't really unsee them anymore. The good part is nothing in this video is permanent. You can start things late, or you can stop caring so much. You can rebuild your social life and stop overthinking. You can change your relationships with time. But you only really do that once you realize you've been repeating the same loops for years. And that realization usually doesn't come from success, it comes from actually looking back.